All right. Hi there, guys. My name is Darren Arbuckle, and to my right is Tristan Long, and we are both the founders of FinLink. Today, we are really excited to just introduce this new video series that we've created called How to Design a Bespoke System Architecture in 7 Steps. Now, we've been working with companies for the last 3-4 years, and as we've been building their Monday.com systems, we realized that there's so much value in the planning stage, and we've really got a nice streamlined template on how it helps us with our builds. And in this video series, we're going to be taking you through those 7 steps. All right, but maybe before we start that, we just want to maybe just talk about our experience and background, and I will let my partner, Tristan, just talk a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Darren. Yeah, as Darren was saying, is that effectively these 7 steps that we've created is really based off of, over the past 3 or 4 years of us creating systems for our customers. We just realized that, there is a fundamental, process that you can follow in order for you to really understand the planning and process behind designing the architecture behind your system. And it's so valuable that, when you're going into discussions with other development houses or technology companies, that you can actually use this piece of paper or this work that you've done as a way to defend yourself, to make sure you're not getting ripped off.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just a bit about me. I'm ex-Amazon, and I'm a director of the company. So just a little bit of wordplay going on there. But I used to work in the fulfillment centers in Amazon as an area manager. And then I transferred over into a corporate team looking after strategic accounts, which was quite cool. But technology has always sort of been my, focus area, and Darren sort of brought me on, into the company, and we've really been just hitting it out the park ever since, and we just really hope to deliver some value to you today. So yeah, thank you for that, Darren.
Oh, awesome. All right, but enough about us. Let's maybe just walk into and explain what will happen if you don't use this. Okay. So the thing is, if you do not use this, right, if you're not going to plan, there's a very high chance that any technology that you bring in may fail, which is going to result in a loss of time, money, training, and development. I mean, that's typically, especially what we find with companies that are bringing in Monday.com, and they just start building, and they're not really thinking about the planning. And what happens is that you build a system, and then months go by, and then you need to bring in this additional feature, and then you find that the technology that you're using actually doesn't work. But if you actually sat down and did the planning beforehand, before you did all this development and trained everyone on it and said, all right, this is great, and then you find out, nah, it doesn't work. You really want to make certain you do this, because that happens to a lot of companies. So please, you really need to focus on that. Another thing is that Monday.com is a workflow tool, which obviously talks about your process. Okay. And I have gone into many companies where I'm like, cool, let's map out the process. We start mapping it out, and then suddenly we get to this point where team A says we go right, and team goes, no, we go left. So now you can imagine that you've got this workflow tool that talks about your process, and team A and team B are not agreeing where the process is. So how can you build a workflow tool when the team doesn't agree? So it's also really important to go through this exercise in order to create alignment, because I promise you it's going to cause a headache for you later down the line.
Exactly. Right. I mean, you would be surprised at the amount of customers that we serve when we're sitting in the workshops and discussing even simple processes where there's varying ways that people are approaching the task. And you have 5 or 7 different stakeholders disagreeing on how it should be done. That in order to get that system to work, everyone needs to be aligned, because there's no point, as Darren said, building a workflow or pipeline of work where in a system where where everyone is following a different part. It all needs to be standardized. So this is I'd say one of the most important steps that we will be talking through.
And you get so much value from it as well.
Exactly.
third point, exactly like Tristan was mentioning way at the beginning of the video, you won't know what questions to ask the software companies. And listen, salespeople are going to sell you the moon, the stars, the sun, and Jupiter, right?
Mm.
They basically say, yeah, my system can do absolutely everything, and you want to arm yourself with the right questions to ask the software company. And what we talk about is well, what is the functionality that the system must be able to provide for the relevant stakeholders within the process that you are building the system for, okay? And if you don't know those questions, when you're looking at software companies, and you're like, okay, does it have this feature? Does it have this feature? Will I be able to do this? And if you don't know all those questions later down the line, it's going to become a problem, okay?
Exactly.
And then point 5. Typically, the way that we love to build our systems is that it always boils down to the reporting. Management is like, yes, we want to streamline the process, but we want to be able to gather insights around the performance of the process, or around the performance of the staff that are working in the process, or around the performance of the process itself. And the thing is that you need to understand the data points that you require, and also it helps determine the structure of the way that you build the solution so that you can report on it later down the line.
Exactly.
If you don't know that report, it's going to be a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, you need accurate data so that you can make good decisions. You'd be surprised at, even companies that you would assume that would have good data reporting analytics actually don't. And it just, in some cases, even when we've been conducting our workshop with our customers, we're finding that they're losing out on thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars and pounds of sales value because they have no way of following up with their customers in their CRM. They don't understand any operational efficiencies that they can input in their business to cut costs. So, we will be speaking about it later, but it's just something to keep in the back of your mind.
Absolutely. It really does boil down to identifying the data points and how that data point is actually captured. Obviously, the thing is that you always want to have system generated because that obviously improves your data quality rather than user generated because, listen, finger
Because
slips
else John is sitting there going, I think it's this. Well,
Yeah,
you need to know. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think the most important part is that you won't understand the cost of the pain point. Listen, you are building the system to solve a pain point, right? And you need to bring in this technology to solve it. But if you don't understand the cost of your pain, and listen, you have to put a value to it because the thing is, technology can get expensive. And you need to be armed and ready to go to the CFO, your CEO, because companies do not like to spend money. They only want to spend money when they can get value from it. And you need to come in and say, listen, this is the cost of the problem. If we are able to reduce it by X%, we could see X amounts of cost savings. So yes, we have to spend this money, but you need to be able to arm yourself with that conversation to go to the person that has the wallet, right? You need to understand the cost of your pain. Okay, so this is what will happen if you do not use this. Now let's maybe talk about what will happen after you have this, right? So first off, you are going to have a blueprint of what the system must do to solve your problem. Okay, it's going to be a nice little document, and that when anyone reads it, they will understand, okay, this is what the system is going to do. You're going to have an extremely aligned team that agrees on your process. And I mean, that is extremely valuable to actually know that everyone knows what the process is, everyone agrees what the process is, and now we can move forward from here. You're also going to have a list of roles and responsibilities, so you'll know exactly who is responsible to do what and when. And also what I like to do is I also like to give people the responsibility of populating a data point. So if you have got bad quality data with regards to a specific data point, you know who the culprit is, right? Fourth, you're going to have a functionalities wish list for what is required of those roles. So everyone is going to say, I want the system to do this. And basically, yeah, you're going to have that. You're going to understand how to measure success and what data points to focus on. So, for instance, you're building a system to improve the way that you're streamlining leads to sales. So, obviously, you need to say, well, how do we know that we're doing that? Well, let's see if we can reduce the quote to cash process, right? How do you do that? That's very easy. You need to know, when did the lead come in? When did they turn it to sale? What is the days between that? And can we shorten it? Right? That could be one. And there's many. Then you're also going to be able to define the cost of the problem as well as how much you need to budget. So that way you can you can have an informed decision when someone says it's going to cost this much, and then you can say, I'm not willing to spend that money because the value that I'm going to get from the system is not going to provide that. It doesn't make sense for me. So you're going to have a very good understanding, and you're not just going to go to cheap is good, or let's go with the cheapest option.
I think something also to keep in the back of your mind here is that just because you may find something frustrating in the business or process that's frustrating, doesn't necessarily mean that you should build a system. All right, like we often get some people who come in and, you know, they inquiring about building the system, and when we sit down with them and do our workshop, it's like, well, actually, you don't really need this because it's not going to create any value for you at all in your company. And you know, and then that's typically where, you know, we explain that, and, you know, we walk away because, you know, at the end of the day, we wanted to provide actual value to our customers, and we want to create systems and solutions that enhance your business and can take it to the next level, right?
Absolutely.
But, you know, don't just create something for the sake of creating it, because then you often are going to just make the process even more complicated instead of easier.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and then I guess the second last point is you'll be able to identify what message points to focus on when onboarding your team. So obviously, listen, people don't like change, and you really want to identify, well, how are you going to give them the desire to want to use your system? And you're going to listen very carefully to their pain points, because you're going to say, listen, the system fixes this pain point over here. This is why it's going to make your life easier. It's going to make you enjoy work more. Okay, so that's the sixth. And then lastly, you're going to have a list of automation and integration opportunities to reduce manual data capturing and data quality. All right. So that is basically what you are going to have after this. Right. So now, how do you design a bespoke system architecture in 7 steps? Well, here they are. Step 1, identify your pain point. Step 2, define the purpose of the system. Step 3, identify the current state of your process. Where are you? Because with step 4, identify the dream state to optimize your process. You need to know where you are and where you want to go. And if you can't define where you currently are, and you cannot define where you want to go, you're going to be walking on a very long journey, because you'll never know once you've reached the objective and you don't know where to start. Right. So step 3 and 4 are very important. Step 5, define and measure your success. People love to tell me, I want to improve my efficiency. Okay, well, okay, first define how you measure efficiency, and then tell me what is the baseline for that. You don't have that.
Measure the success of that again, right? Because no point us building a system and then you have no way of understanding if it's working, if it's valuable, and if it's achieving the goal that you want.
Exactly.
Because then
you
everyone
need to know
is just
what it is. Identify the baseline. If you say, I'm bringing in a CRM because I want to improve my conversion rate. Okay, well, what is your current conversion rate? It's 20%. 6 months after you've implemented the new system, it's 20%. Oh wait, no, 25. Well, yeah, 25. Okay, now you can see that there's an increase in the conversion rate.
Yeah.
Now you know the system's working. Step 6, define the value that the system is going to generate and understand the costs. And then lastly, 7, how to make the change and getting your people to use it. And in the next video, we are going to be talking about step 1, identify your pain points. And if you really are excited about coming on this journey with us, we also have a webinar where we're going to be talking about all 7 steps. It's going to be roughly about an hour to an hour and a half. And what we'll do is we'll put a link in the description below so that you can join and book your seat for the webinar. All right.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys.
And Darren, if you just go to the next page as well, there'll be a little link there
Yeah,
where you can
I
just
like that.
come click. It will take you to the website, and if you feel that you need to sit down with us and book a workshop with us, just input your details. We'll reach out to you, and then we'll see if you're a right fit and if we can provide some value to you and your company.
All right, no, fantastic. But guys, thank you so much for spending these few minutes, and we will be seeing you in the next video, part 1, the pain points.
Cheers.
Yes for now.